Okay, lovely souls. We have a couple of people in chat already. We're here with Miss Julie Cuccia Watts. Am I live? Am I live?
I think you're live. You've got numbers going.
Okay, let me go. Okay, thank you for coming today, my beautiful mods. Thank you for being here. Hopefully my internet will be okay. I have a storm coming in. Hit deluge yesterday for like 7 minutes, and then it went away, and then it was sun shining again. Okay, so we have Nancy and Jackie.
Hey,
Nancy. Let me go here. So I'll start with those two lovely souls. Okay. So thank you, Nancy, for coming. She came early. I appreciate you coming here and helping with the mod today, and our lovely Jackie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you too for coming today. And then we have someone else coming in. Thank you. Carla hasn't shown up. Carla? Carla Astrology is on my phone, and not here she is. There's a little lag between the YouTube and the StreamYard. So thank you for coming again, Carla Astrology. I appreciate you coming. And then we have a new person, Lazina. Oh, welcome. Welcome. John is here.
John. Hi, John.
Hey, John. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you.
Betsy's here.
And our lovely Betsy. Be lurking and working again. Thank you. We appreciate the lurking just as well. All of a sudden, my chat went retry.
I still have mine.
Okay. So, yeah. So, for those of you who are new to this channel, this is Paranormal Investigation. And I came up with this idea with the help of Amber from Lavender Moon. I went on her channel one time to figure out the little spirit girl who resides in my home. And we did hey, Peter. You go, boy. Thank you for supporting the Pride. Tony's here. Hey, Tony. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Brendan's here. My baby is going to be 21 soon. Oh, how do you do it, people? Just give me idea, 21. So anyway, I have a spirit girl here. I'm sorry, I have sinus issues. I have a spirit girl here in my house. And I went on Paranormal Live, Lavender Moon's channel, and I will put the link in the description. Or Nancy and Jackie, I'm sure you have her link. Put that in the chat for me. So we did a tarot reading to find out more about the little girl who resides here, and I've later done some research. I have a cemetery. I live on the corner, and just 2-minute walk. There's a family plot cemetery. I'm going to lose my voice today. And there's the only 8-year-old girl buried there. Her name's Sally, and her tomb is missing. So I think when I went to go visit, she decided to follow me home. And we did it like an investigation to find out who she was, find a little more about her. And it was the most amazing thing. And chat helped out. So grab some decks if you want to help out today. So it just sparked an idea of doing some investigations using tarot. Thank you, Tana. Thank you for joining us. So I decided to finally start my channel and have this as one of the live streams, Paranormal Investigations. And it's fun. So today we're doing a paranormal investigation with Julie Cuccia Watts, who everybody knows and loves here. And she traveled to Egypt. And she got a very interesting story to tell. And today she and I are both going to use her deck, Journey into Egypt Tarot. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what she experienced while she was there. And I just want to mention her backdrop behind her are the backings of her card.
Yeah, you can see how I altered it with colors. Like in Photoshop, I altered it a little.
It's just beautiful. So I got my deck just in time. I got chills. I got it just in time to do our live today. So we have a couple more people I want to welcome in. It's not got to my chat yet, but anyway. So tell us a little bit about your trip to Egypt and the tomb. And can you please say the tomb, because I will butcher that name.
Oh, Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. And the reason I wanted to investigate this mortuary temple is because years and years and years before I actually got to go there, I had this time travel dream, vision, experience. And I was there. And I didn't even really know if it was a real place. So I've told this story a million times, but maybe I should tell it again. I mean,
well, we have new people that have never, I've never seen in Amber's chat. So
I was in the middle of my spiritual awakening when I was 22 years old. And I was just getting into like full moon cycles and the importance of cross-quarter days. And in 1981, there was a full moon on the spring equinox, which at that time I didn't know that the spring equinox was as important as it was to the Egyptians. So much of this is very layered. Like, it's sort of like the unfolding of a life, because I always was interested in Egypt. I was always interested in
on. Such
right?
A magical
right? The
era.
Faith, the artifacts were like something I just gravitated to, like from little on. But at 22, I was in college, and I was in the middle of a divorce, and my son was staying with my mother, and it was spring break, and my son had just turned 2. So I was there to celebrate his birthday and spend Easter break there. And on my mind was these people I had just met. I had just gotten into Native American spirituality, and I had just met people that I knew from past lives. And they remembered me from Egypt, and I remembered them.
That's incredible.
Even though I believed in reincarnation my whole life, I never ever expected to meet people that I knew. And the way that I knew them was the familiarity of their voices and their eyes.
Wow. The eyes are the windows of the soul, right?
Yeah, and it was tremendous. So I had just visited someone, and that the next day I had driven back to my mom's house to stay over, and I went to bed and I slept on the couch because I was just staying there. I wasn't living there. I was living in the dorm. And I don't even know what time it was when I woke up, but I woke up, and instead of being on the couch, I was on this mattress, like linen covered mattress, I would say about 4 to 5 inches thick. And it was on this black granite slab. And outside, I could see pillars, and I could see like curtains blowing. And my mom had shears on her front window, which is what I was facing. But I could see this wind blowing, and the sky was red. And I looked down at my arms, and my arms were different. Like, I was pretty thin and small at that time, but when I looked at my arms, they were like the whole forearm was smaller, and my hair was really long and it was past my knees and I was completely naked. And I had this black cat with me, this very like long and lanky black cat with a small head.
Oh,
And
wow.
this cat was with me. And I could see that I was in this, like, above this place. And I didn't know where I was. I was
And this
inside.
really felt 3D real.
Absolutely 3D real. And I was like, where the hell am I?
Right.
I had my Julie mind and I had my Julie inner voice, but I definitely didn't have my Julie body. I don't know whose body. At the time, I didn't know whose body it was.
I'm getting all goosey.
I could see to my right that there was a stairway that led down to a beach. It looked like a beach. And when I looked to my left, it was pure black and all dark, but I could see this very dark water, like an ocean. And I was on this cliff area, like this building I was in was on a cliff looking down at this temple that had 3 tiers. And it inside the temple I could see lights and I could see twinkling like torchlight. I could see movement of torchlight. And above the temple there were bushes, like really dark bushes, and a big cliff. And behind me there was more cliff. And there were little white buildings behind me, and it seemed like a village. And in my head, I thought it was Greece. It seemed like the buildings of Greece, the little white buildings, little square buildings. And I just, was like, where am I? And I could see in the very distance, like to my left, like directly to my left, like the temple was to my right, and this flashing pink light. I could see thunder, like lightning, in the distance. And then I just took the cat in my arms like this, and I flew out over the water. I just flew out. And as I did that, I woke up on my mother's couch, but I couldn't move. And on my chest was this cat meowing at me, like in my face, meow.
Like a real cat now.
Like a real cat.
Like your mom's cat.
Paralyzed. I had the dream paralysis. Completely paralyzed. And I was kind of freaked out. But what was happening was I could still hear the thunder and lightning. And it was the thunder and lightning crashing around me. I could see that I was in my mother's living room again. But the thunder and lightning was crashing around me big time. Then I woke up again and I could move. And the thunder and lightning was still happening. And I woke up and went, what the fuck happened? I'm sorry.
What an amazing experience.
But I didn't know where I was.
On YouTube?
What?
Are we allowed to post on YouTube? Go for it.
All right. So the next day, I'm with my son, and I'm kind of bored, and I'm just hanging out with my son. He's playing, and I'm looking through encyclopedias sitting on the floor, and my mother has these really old encyclopedias that she's had since I was a kid.
Right.
You didn't have internet, so you had encyclopedias. So I'm looking at this book of knowledge set, and it's like there's one set that's lands and peoples. So I'm looking up Egyptian things because I've been talking to these people in past lives in Egyptian things. Mm-hmm. And I open up the book, and here's the temple that I saw the night before. And it's the Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. It's exactly the building that I saw, except it's missing a tier on top, and there's no bushes, and it's just cliff. And I have no idea if there's a cliff where I was or not. I don't know. I don't see that. But I see the temple, and I think, who is Hatshepsut? And
oh my goodness,
what did she do? And I read about her, and so now I've got this mission to find out who Hatshepsut is.
Yeah,
and, that's 1981. So
do you think? Hey, Gerald. Oh, just in time. We're getting into the juicy. I hope you heard the. You'll have to watch back if you didn't hear her out of body experience. So let me ask you the picture. I really am losing my voice. The picture you saw versus what you saw,
Right.
you know, as you astro traveled, do you think you saw the original?
I
Yeah,
do. Because
yeah.
even the cliff, like where the cliff wall was, that cliff was full of vegetation. There was a retaining stone wall that went down, and like there was steps that went down to the beach, and um, there was a retaining stone wall, and in within that stone wall there were little tiny um, like ferns, and I could see the vegetation, and it was like I felt like I had knowledge of like every detail of what was there with me in that vision. Like I could see the vegetation, I knew what things were made out of, and I had awareness of like everything. And the steps went down to the beach. It was quite a big staircase that went down to the beach, what I
Mm-hmm.
thought was a beach. Um, but when I looked at the picture, clearly that was the same building because it had the big ramp and these big ramps up to, to these pillared sections. And it's quite a distinct building. Like you don't see buildings like that anywhere else.
Right.
It's even distinct for Egypt, because you don't see a lot of buildings like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
It's also vivid. It makes it even that much more amazing,
yeah. So it took until, I don't even know what year it was. I was watching Love Boat of all things, and they were taking a Nile cruise, and it panned Hatshepsut's temple and showed the cliff.
Oh,
So it was the first time I
really?
ever saw the cliff where I had been. There actually was a cliff there because
Oh, my goodness.
it's the cliff to the north, and I didn't know if there actually was a cliff there.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that was the first time I ever saw that there was a cliff there. So that could have been like, it could have been like 7 years later or 5 years later. It was because I didn't have a TV for most of the 80s. So
Oh,
when I
okay.
saw that cliff, I was like, there really is a cliff there.
Oh,
So
validation.
fast forward from age 22 to age 49. As I'm turning 49, I'm invited to go on this trip to Egypt with Mary Greer and Norman D. Ellis, who's my favorite author of Egyptian things. Um, and Nikki Scully is having this tour to Egypt, right? So I make it happen to go. And what happened was I got 2 scholarships. Otherwise, I would have never been able to afford to go. And part of, I think, the reason that I got a scholarship was because I told this story on a chat.
Oh.
And I wrote about this story on a chat, and I had never really shared it with anyone before. And I don't know who gave me the scholarship. It was anonymous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have been able to afford to go if I hadn't.
Dear Julie, love the universe.
Yeah, I was told that someone paid my way by the tour, and so in 2007, on November 11th, like 6 days before my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in front of this temple, and the tour guide says, up on the cliffs, you can see that there's all kinds of little holes in the cliff on the north. And there isn't a staircase. There's some kind of weird building that they put pillars against the wall, like on the ground level, not up in the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, up there in that cliff, the daughter of Hatshepsut was buried, or one of the daughters. There's only one, but
Okay.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Hatshepsut had a daughter.
Ooh.
So the girl on the cliff, like, I look at my friend who's my roommate, Gina, and she looks at me and her eyes get really big and my eyes get really big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to find out about her now. So in 2007, I finally get a name. for this woman. And Gina says to me, she goes, Julie, the girl is dead. You know, the girl was dead. And I was like, no, she wasn't dead. I'm like, she wasn't dead. And I'm like, oh, but maybe, you know, it kind of sinks in that the girl was dead. The girl was dead. And that the fact that she flew out to the south is, you know, I learned that the south is reincarnation. I learned that the north, the north is the immortal stars. So the cliff in the north have tombs in the north. These people are immortalized, and the mortuary temple itself is in the west. So that is, you know, where the sun would set. The doorway to the other world. And, so, you know, not having known that in the beginning, this story unfolds.
Wow.
So that's why I thought it would be cool to, like,
yes,
investigation of this place.
Yes,
even though you know, I've been unfolding this place for a long time.
Right.
A lot of it has revealed itself to me and kind of almost had closure. But I still feel like, you know, this is kind of an important thing. Like, if it can happen to me, you know, I'm just nobody from nowhere. And, you know, this is a thing that humans can do.
That's amazing. And the vivid, I mean, I can just see it with you. You describe it so vividly, and just
I'm still there. I can still,
right?
I have so much memory of that place.
Yeah.
But actually, when I was there, it was like familiar to me. It was all familiar. Everything was familiar. The texture, the size of it, you know, it was all familiar. I only got to spend 45 minutes there the first time.
Oh, darn.
I was there for longer, and I got to go upstairs, and I got to stay for a while. And the second time I was there, they had Sunamet's tomb open as well, and his tomb was below her tomb, like directly below. Well, the building, whatever the building was, whether the building was the building, which would be the mortuary, like a embalming house,
right?
Or whether it was an actual tomb, I don't know.
Okay. So let me ask, was your deck out already, or did you produce this because of your trip?
I had that came after. I started that in 2009 after my 2 trips.
How interesting. Yeah. So real quick, before we go into the story, this is also related to Real Sky Astrology?
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes. And, Real Sky Astrology is something that I got on my second trip.
Wow. Okay. So
that was why I did the journey into Egypt, because
it's crazy. Yeah. And I love that you put, like, on the chariot here, you put the cycle of the moon, which is, for those who follow the cycles, this is really important information. I'm just learning myself. So, but this is Julie's artwork. If you know, those of you who have not seen it yet, and it's all oil paintings, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into this story. I'm already getting, like, my little tingles all over the place. So,
like, questions, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not that good at.
Yeah. So we'll dive in.
Formulate a question.
Yeah. Okay. So what we will do is, anybody who has a deck, you're welcome to join in so we can investigate this all, or as I put in my description, excavate together and dig deep into this. So if everybody has a deck that they'd like to use, you're welcome to put in your intuitive thoughts into the chat as we do this. And so, because every story is different, I don't have a format of questions other than just like right now. Okay, we know about Egypt, but let's ask about the land that is surrounding the can you say Hatshepsut? Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. I can do it Hatshepsut when I'm writing it. Hatshep. That is a tongue twister.
I think her real name was like Mahat Hari or something like that.
Oh, and is that where you got the Mahat Tarot? Did you?
I didn't know that until much later. Yeah, and
okay. So let me go by saying that I am a firm believer that this was a past life experience for you. But I also want to let everybody know, as we investigate, this is for entertainment purposes only. But when we do these, there's so many synchronicities that coincide, as you all know who use the tarot. But we're not saying this is truth when we do our little readings here. So I would like to first let's see. Let me first see who's here real quick. If somebody's Michelle came in late. Late. You're late, Michelle. Be sure to watch the playback to Julie just had this most incredible story, and so we're going to do an investigation of Hatshepsut mortuary temple. I keep calling it a tomb. And so let's start off by
I suppose we should show like a picture of it, right?
Do you have?
I have a card here that has.
If I can, would be awesome.
Because then people can get more of an understanding of what it's actually like. It took me a minute to find it because at first my deck is shuffled now. I can go right to the place. Well, anyway, in the Three of Coins, you can see an image of the temple itself.
Oh, okay. We'll just
you can
between the two of us. I'm so excited to use this deck. At the 4 coins.
But I've put this temple I put it into Ancestral Paths.
Oh, did you?
And I put it into Mahat. I think I did. I usually put it into every one of my decks.
Okay.
Just because I'm always hoping that someone else will say, hey, I remember that place. But it's right across the river from Luxor. And Luxor was very familiar to me. Luxor is where Karnak is. Oh, it's in this one. This is actually like my vision.
Oh.
So I gave her a sarcophagus.
Incredible.
Yeah. Even though it's very red and you can't really see that in this picture.
Okay. Oh, you said 3 of Coins, though, not cups.
Yeah, 3 of Coins also has.
It's going to be the darn last card.
I know, I can't find the card, but I found the deck card.
Okay. All right. So I can't find it.
I know it's
oh, yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, that's the temple. And I put the bushes in there.
Michelle, you're in my way. God. That's incredible. Okay, so this is the place we're going to be investigating. So was that in one of the pictures you sent me? Was that was the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. Okay. All right. So my first question is going to be, these are giant cards, Julie.
Yes. Sideways.
I want to know, okay, so we're going to start with, I want to know the energy that surrounds this temple.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so let's find out if everybody's welcome to join in the reading. Let us know what I can't even do it sideways.
Just gonna pull one out of the middle without looking, and energy of the building.
Energy of the
temple. Look.
I almost used that card as the thumbnail.
And it's like it's the out of balance. There's some kind of lie.
Okay, so there's an imbalance of the energies surrounding the temple.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the way the way some people end up there aren't always in favorable situations.
Also because, well, for one thing, the temple was destroyed about 30 years after it was built, and it was
Only
buried.
30?
Yeah, and it was Howard Carter that found it, and they rebuilt it in like 1960. So it was like not even there for most of the time. And you know, I wonder if like the pillars that are on the north face of that cliff on the bottom, if they should be up on the cliff and not really on the ground, because that seemed out of place to me. And you know, that there were no bushes anywhere. Like there was no vegetation anywhere. It's all desert. But I'm glad that they rebuilt it. I mean, otherwise,
absolutely.
you know, that's sort of a mystery too, is why it was destroyed and why she was
hidden in the first place
out of all of the cartouches, and why she was left off the King's List, and you know, Hatshepsut was kind of like.
Okay, so that's going to be another question. So I got the Prince of Cups, and there's your vegetation.
And also that one is like a clearing your karma kind of a card.
Okay, Sunset, Descendant. So say again, you said the West is for the departed or the interesting. So that just validates what this temple is for me is you know, the place of rest, and the descendants are there.
Yeah.
All the descendants are there, but there must be something of importance for Mr. Prince over here. Hatshepsut was a female, though, correct?
Yes, correct. But masqueraded as a male.
Did she really?
There was a thing about women being pharaohs, and
that's right.
And like her father really wanted her to be the pharaoh because she was more suited for it. She had the personality for it, and her brother was kind of weak, and he ended up dying early. But so she became the regent, and then her stepson became the co-regent. And
well, I almost got a sibling.
Right, he was little. Yeah, he was too little to be pharaoh. He was like just a kid.
Okay.
So she became pharaoh, and then at a certain point, she kind of just like, you know, we're kid. I'm gonna be pharaoh. I'm gonna just.
That's funny. I just want to say hi to Vagabond Gypsy real quick. Oh, you do? Oh, you love? Oh, that's we have a fan of hits. I'll get it. Shipset. I will remember that one. Shipset. Okay. That's going to be the challenge for the day, is pronouncing her name properly. And we'll give honor to that. So that's very interesting. So now you post a question for me. Why was it destroyed? Why was it hidden?
Let's find out why.
Yeah, let's find out why they wanted to hide this place. Was somebody buried there that they didn't want to be found?
I kind of have an inkling of why, but let's see what the cards say.
Yeah. Why?
Digging the middle, and not looking. Oh.
Oh. Blood spilled.
Yeah.
There was blood spilled there. I wonder if that happened inside and made it not so sacred.
Well, yeah, maybe there was a lot of like overkill, a lot of death. What I can you pick your card and then I'll tell you
Oh, okay.
more.
All right. So I have the Three of Cups.
Yeah.
Second day of the full moon cycle of Aquarius. So what's interesting here is there's kind of a circle here.
Oh,
right. A light beam coming up.
Okay. Well, here's what ends up happening. That there was an ancient bloodline that was in power in Egypt. And then there were some people who had settled in the Delta who took over Egypt for a really long time. And the bloodline that ran through Hatshepsut's family was from the original families, from the really, really old families in Egypt. And that the bloodlines usually always ran through the feminine, like through the queens, not through the fathers, but through the queens. And after Hatshepsut, because her daughter died, so she couldn't carry on that bloodline, it became patriarchal. And bloodlines started running through the masculine.
Okay.
So that was the turning point.
Wow.
Also is thought to have happened, according to some people. They found ash from the eruption of Thera, which is a volcano that erupts occasionally in the Crete area. It's a Santorini. There's a volcano that erupts, and if a tsunami happened because of that volcano.
Oh my!
And so, if something catastrophe like that happened, the pharaoh is responsible for keeping Mahat, keeping balance in nature. And if it was a female who was impersonating a male, being the pharaoh, she would be blamed. And gender may have started to play a role in that. And that may be why her temple was destroyed and all memory of this was destroyed.
Right.
And so you didn't want to have in the immortal memory.
So what I find interesting right now is, to me, here's a woman carrying a child. But what it's wrapped into me is such a powerful energy for that child. And I don't know if anybody else would notice, this to me looks like a crown of stars. And so the ascending of royalty. And so, yeah, so hiding that because maybe they didn't want her descendant also. I'll have to think on this. Hang on. Yeah, definitely they wanted to hide some very important information. And I think you're right about the, because they didn't want the female lineage. Because, females held more magic within them. They birthed magic. And I think maybe the male feared that magic that they held within them.
Well, when you look at Isis, she has a throne on her head.
Right.
The bloodline comes through her. The Isis, the mother, is got the throne on her head. And what's really interesting and odd is the successor of Hatshepsut is Thutmose III, and his mother's name is either Aset or Isis. So you don't really know what her real name is. All of a sudden, she's given the name Isis. Oh. But that's probably not what her real name was.
Okay.
So she's like a secondary wife of the husband and father of the daughter.
Yeah.
But the bloodline goes through the son instead, who is born of a secondary wife, not the bloodline.
So yeah, there's some significance to this child here for sure for me. What do you think about this statement from Lazina?
No, it's much earlier than that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
definitely once the Romans came in after the Ptolemies, for sure, there was nothing but patriarchy. This was just like the beginning. Like, we also were just at the beginning of the age of Aries as well. And the Roman era is at the end of the age of Aries. So this whole age of Aries, we're suddenly shifting from this age of Taurus with the bull to the age of the invisible god. And Amun-Ra is the
sun
ram-headed god, but he's especially the sun at midnight, the hidden god. Like, you don't see him, he's just everywhere. So you have this sort of a prototype of the Judeo-Christian invisible abstract god who's the word and not really an image.
Right.
And you have that era coming into play.
Yeah.
And it's
so okay, so oops, hang on, back over here. Carla drew the 6 of Swords, and then we have the 3 of Swords, and then Jackie pulled 4 of Swords. So I found that kind of interesting.
All the swords,
right? So a lot of air. Okay, and then you and I discussed this. So what we find in astrology, the air signs, the earth signs, etc., is very different under the Egyptian astrology. Is that?
Yeah, when I've done my decks, I've sort of scraped away the European influence. I tried to get really to the heart of an Egyptian worldview, especially with this deck. So I just sort of eliminate the stuff that is more European and just look at it in terms of how the Egyptians would have viewed things. I try to. And I kind of look at my world that way as well. So it's like, I don't really belong here sometimes. Like, Julie lives in her own world. But I feel better looking at the world that way.
Right? Yes, and I would love to learn more about that. So hopefully we can do a different day on this real sky astrology. It's fascinating. Yeah. It's so fascinating. So, okay, so I come up with another question for how about let's ask about the energy of Hatshepsut.
Oh, the energy.
Okay. So let's see what her energy is all about. Yeah. Her hymn. The energy that she held while she was in rain, and then maybe we'll do pull 2 cards. The energy that she held while she was in rain, and then the energy of the after when she stepped down. Maybe.
She didn't live very long.
She didn't live very long.
No, she didn't live very long after her daughter died.
I'm sorry?
She didn't live very long after her daughter died. Her daughter died like between 18 years old and 21 years old. And she may or may not have had a child. She may or may not have been married. It's really sketchy. But Hatshepsut died like within a couple of years of that.
Oh, wow. Okay, here's interesting from Tony. She said the devil is why it was destroyed for question 2. You know, when you think about all the constraints of society. Yeah. All right, so let's see what her energy is all about. So you said she was an actual pharaoh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was an actual pharaoh. Yeah, and she was grooming her daughter to be pharaoh as well. And her daughter played God's wife in...
Interesting.
Played the God's wife.
This just popped out.
Ooh.
As you were talking about that. How interesting.
Yeah, maybe she was a little reluctant.
Wow. So she was definitely loved being a mother to her. Child doesn't look so happy, but don't make me sit here.
There's some exclusion.
Ooh.
someone felt excluded.
Wow.
And somebody didn't like that. Or maybe she felt excluded, being like she wouldn't be counted because she was a woman. So
Okay.
maybe she felt excluded.
Makes sense, because look what come up there then. She's all alone there.
Yeah.
So maybe she felt that she didn't have maybe the support, maybe that she
Yeah.
was. Do you know if she was well loved?
I don't know.
You don't know that. Okay. Interesting.
No, she was very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because her father really loved her, so her whole life was about legitimizing father, who was not born a pharaoh, who had been a general in her grandfather's army, like the grandfather who was related to the original families. So her mother carried the bloodline, not her father. So she may have felt, and he doted on her, and he thought that she should be pharaoh over his son.
I like this image. I don't know if that's your intentions, but is that the moonlight on the water? Is that water?
Starlight, Sirius starlight on there.
Oh,
The flooding and then rising of Sirius is coinciding.
so full moon in Aquarius. So I already get the full moon in Cancer, how nurturing she was as the mother. And then, so explain maybe the full moon in Aquarius. What would that mean?
Well, it would be the knowledge of, there was something called a Nilometer in Egypt. So when the Nile would flood to a certain level, they would know exactly what their harvest would be. Like they would know, if the flood level got to here, then they would have this much bounty of crops. They could expect this much, but if it was low or if it was too much, or they would be able to gauge by where the Nile flooded to in this meter. And there is one in the Temple of Philae. There's a little island.
Nilometer. I love that.
There's a Nilometer. There's a Nilometer, I think, at Colombo too, where they would know how much.
Right.
That's this is going to be a fertile year or not fertile year.
Yeah. Kind of like our Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah. Kind of like the rain gauge, like when they not had enough water to fill the water table, or we had not enough rain this year, they would know, because they really didn't get rain in Egypt. It would have been a desert without the Nile. So the flood that would come from the south when there were monsoons in Ethiopia, and that would feed the Nile, and then the Nile would flood every year annually at a certain time of the year, and they would gauge it. It was like clockwork. So the universe was like clockwork for them.
So Tony's using the ancestral path. Ancestral
path.
That's a tough.
Yeah, we know what you mean. Just
Oh, that's funny. So I think I would like to know next about her relationships. What did people feel about her, maybe, or
types of relationships?
Yeah, the interaction.
Yeah, that should be.
Yeah.
However, great.
Would you say?
Enemies could be great.
Oh. Okay, so this is about the oh goodness sakes.
What jumped out? Oh shoot. I think because her father died, and that was her alliance. When her father died,
And look how so that really that was a powerful image for this question. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then who is this, please?
That's Khnum, and he's the god who makes people and gods on his on his potter's wheel.
Oh.
He's an ancient Nile god. His wavy horns are actually, there was an animal like that, but it went extinct. So his wavy horns are symbolic of the Nile. He's also a lunar god.
I wonder if this is where the Celtics got Cernunnos.
Oh,
the idea of Cernunnos.
Possibly.
So,
Certainly.
wow. Okay, so we know that she loved her father dearly. She very much warned her. Oh, look at this. That also popped out.
For her energy.
What if this, I know you didn't intend that, but what if this is like her father's ashes that she holds and his spirit?
It's a Dionysian character, but that's later. But it's something, the sacrament, but his face is Osiris's face, the blue face of Osiris. So he became Osiris.
So was Osiris a physical being around her? Do we know?
It's possible. Not like Osiris is quite ancient. It would have been more like at the beginning of the Egyptian era. So he's also associated with Orion and the constellation Orion. So it's kind of like the epic gods, like Osiris would be an
right.
God.
Okay. So what I'm gathering when we ask about the people around her and the energy from them, it's almost like she had a fair mixture of those who were against her being the pharaoh and those who supported her.
Yeah, I would think so. And what I'm also getting from that image is the revelries that would happen at that, possibly have happened in that necropolis, because it was really necropolis. It was a city of the dead, and I've dreamed about that place more times than just that out of body experience. I've had dreams about it where I'm walking past it, or I'm walking and it's in the background. So it felt like it would have been someplace where you would have, because there's a Hathor temple like right next to it, and I know that there were rituals where the statue of Amun, the invisible god, would visit the temple of Hathor, and the royal families would stay up all night and party, and then in the morning they would douse the torches into buckets of milk, and there would be like revelries all night, like big parties.
Right.
And there wasn't the strict sexual mores that there were like later on.
Right.
There was a lot of
the knowledge that is contained within you, Julie, is just so fascinating.
It's like, who cares about this stuff? Just me. I mean,
oh no, I've always been interested and never been able to,
When I hear that sort of thing, when I hear these stories, when I'm in Egypt and I would hear about all this stuff, it would just like sink in.
Yeah.
Like other things I'm just oblivious to, I'll hear it and it'll just, but that's like
true. Like, it's true.
Big dark letters for me, and it just stays in my brain.
I think that's true for a lot of people. What you enjoy, you're going to learn more about and retain that knowledge. And it's like in school, if you're not interested in math, that's not going to sink in. But get Egyptian history, and it's like,
I'm not doing my homework during class on these things. I'm actually I'm doing research, and I'm also listening and connecting dots. I mean, I think I have this ability to hear something from one place and hear something from another place and go, oh, wait, maybe that's why this third thing happened.
Wow. Did you pull some cards for that?
I was supposed to pull a card for
this energy. Was the energy around her and the people around her.
And I got the moon card as a place, as a place of healing. Like there was, like there would have been times of year that would have been particular for healing.
I just want to say again, for those who might have come in a little after, Julie had gone to Egypt on her second trip. It was that you had the out-of-body experience?
No, I had the out-of-body experience way before I went to
before
Egypt.
You went. That's right. Before you went to Egypt, and that's what drew you to
I was
so
right.
I encourage you to watch the playback and listen to her story. It's amazing.
People when I was in my early 20s who I remembered from past lives, who remembered me from past lives, which I never expected to ever have happen. So my spiritual awakening happened really early. And so I was this 22-year-old girl who had all of this super download, right? So I did a lot of research, and nobody really took me seriously until I was in my late 30s.
Right. Because you're just a silly little girl.
I did my research during those times because I didn't have money. I didn't have a lot of money, so I was a single mom for a long time. I didn't have a lot of money, and I would spend my time at the library. I spend my off hours reading and researching and drawing, and that was how I entertained myself.
Right.
So, because I couldn't afford to go out or go do things or go to workshops or seminars or, like people I knew who were nurses would go fly to Sedona and do cool things. And I was I was just going to draw pictures because that's what I could afford to do and read library books. So that was my life.
Right.
My 20s. Yeah. And keeping body and soul together. And then once I married Peter,
it's all his fault.
And he was also into all of this stuff. And he also had memories of past lives and was part of that scene of people or connected the link to the people who remembered me from past lives and I remembered them. So he was also part of that circle. And then together we just became like this cohesive spiritual connection. And so from our late 20s, we were together. And that's when we had Brendan. Then I was able to stay home with Brendan. That's when I did Ancestral Path. So that was a foundation of a way for me to put all the symbolism and all of the spiritual things I had learned from Native American culture and Egyptian culture and kind of synthesize it into something tangible. And then that ended up getting published by some weird luck of when you only see maybe 4 or 5 people, but those are the people who connect you to the thing that you have to do. It's like my life has been really kind of sheltered and small, but it has been very direct path.
Right.
Like there's no recipe for life. Like for me, it was like, keep your life really small and then you'll be directed to exactly what you have to do.
And I believe that because it's less distractions, right?
Yeah, I had no distractions.
Yeah.
I was like literally alone on the path. This is what you have to do now.
Right.
And one thing would just lead to the next thing. And I finished Mahat in 2006.
Right.
It was a lunar astrological Western astrology deck.
Right.
And as soon as that's finished and paid off in 2009, I find out about Real Sky Astrology and have to do it over because to me now it's a lie.
Right.
The old sky is a lie. It's not even up there.
Wow.
This is not how the Egyptians did it. This is not how they did it.
Right.
And so I have to do it over. And that's how Real Sky was born. And then after Journey into Egypt, I still felt like I needed to do an astrology thing because I felt like that was what I should do. And that ended up being a deck too. So Real Sky Astrology became a deck.
Yeah.
Just because I can draw better than I can write.
Right.
And drawing gives me a format to write about. And that seems to be like how I can communicate. Because I'm more of a picture person than a word person.
Yeah. Well, that's what art's for. For those, if you're interested, I did put Julie's website link in the description, for the other tarot decks that she's mentioning. And before we end the show, I'll mention these beautiful decks that you create. So what I want to know, you had mentioned a tunnel that you felt went.
Right.
So tell a little bit about that.
The alignment of the winter solstice goes straight down the avenue of Karnak, which is directly across the Nile River from the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut. And it's a direct line. So the storyboards that are on the mortuary temple talk about Hatshepsut's father being Amun-Ra. So that her mother slept with Amun-Ra. And so I think that what was intended was this long ramp, which aligns with this winter solstice sunrise, was meant to have a direct line straight through that cliff, which on the other side of the cliff is where the first tomb in the Valley of the Kings was, and that was her father's tomb, Thutmose I. So I think that they had intended on drilling a hole straight through the cliff so that when a winter solstice sunrise would shine through, his tomb would be lit up with that sunlight. And it will also be like a tunnel that they could like sneak through that cliff and then, surprise, we're in the Valley of the Kings. So if there was some kind of ritual that would happen in the Valley of the Kings, where this sunlight would be shining through the tomb, they would already be there. Like quickly get there, and it would be like this. The Egyptians were sort of like notorious for using natural phenomenon to their monuments kind of use the natural world. Like if you've ever seen a picture of the Sphinx with the spring equinox sun is directly over the top of its head, and then it travels down the side of its head.
Oh, wow.
During different times of the year, it'll travel down the side of its head, or
instead of being hidden.
When the pyramids, if you look, there's a portal. They thought of the sun as when it would go down as a portal. So it would sit on top of this small pyramid and then travel down the pyramid and set in at certain times of year into the horizon. So these were all used in their religious rituals. And it was, they had this open sky. They never had rain. They had to get a half an inch of rain a year. So the sky is always open. And, they're always seeing the stars, and they're watching the stars and the planets. And, as part of their religion, nature is their religion. The Neteru means nature. It's a nature religion.
Much like the American Indians.
Much like, and even where like Mahat wears a feather in her hair.
I was going to ask you if you feel, because as we go through this chat, I feel a very familiar correlation between the two.
Well, the pyramids at Cahokia and the Serpent Mound in Ohio, with the snake swallowing the sun, is very similar to the snake that Isis put on the trail to take a bite out of Ra.
They would have no idea.
There are people who do think that Egyptians either came here and built things.
I'm just thinking about Stargate, the movie Stargate. What if the Egyptians did accomplish producing a portal? And that's how
traveling the oceans, maybe they were.
Oh, that's not as fun, Julie. Come on.
The thing is that they knew how big the earth was.
This is true. So forget the Vikings, right? Let's say the Egyptians discovered America.
They actually think that they were actually traveling and doing trade with other countries, like far away, like even Australia. So
interesting. Viviani's here.
So I think, that it's very possible there was a source. Graham Hancock will say there was a source culture that the Mesoamerican native people came from, and Egyptians came from, or West Africans came from. There's a similarity in very, very, very ancient.
That's fascinating. Things.
Or they could have been a global society, because they did know how to do water. I mean,
I just pictured before the continents separated.
No, that's way long ago. That's way, way long ago.
All right, I still like my portal theory.
Vast amounts of time. But, human beings have been around for what? Like 1 million years?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time for cultures to rise and fall.
Right. This has turned into more of an educational program. I love it.
With tarot, but
well, I do have another. Okay, so let's focus on that tunnel. I really want to ask about.
Right. Let's ask about the tunnel, because that's what I think. I think that's what the intention was, because that was her story. That Amun-Ra was her father.
All right, I'm going to ask two different questions. One is, what is the intention of the tunnel when they built it?
Was there a tunnel? How about that?
What's that?
Was there supposed to be a tunnel? Is there a tunnel? Yeah. Right. It's possible it was prematurely not finished.
Right. So that was going to be another question. Was it never? Let's do that one. Was this portal tunnel? Was it not finished, or was it hidden?
Okay.
Was it cut off? Was it purposely caved in, but on purpose? Is that?
Oh, that's.
Oh, I want to look at that more.
So only the engineer knows for sure. Only the engineer knows for sure.
Oh wow!
The baby that Hatshepsut found. Okay. The Hyksos baby that she saved was the engineer.
Oh.
Money. Maybe they ran out of money.
Wow.
They run out of money?
Resources. They ran out of resources.
Out of resources.
And that's why it wasn't finished. So it wasn't a purposeful. And there was much bloodshed, much like miners.
I think there was death. I think death came too soon.
Yeah.
All the plans were ruined.
Does anybody in the chat have a question that we might be able to find out about this temple? Or Julie, can you think of any?
Pretty much. You are on the hour.
Let's do real quick. What was the importance of finishing this tunnel to the Valley of Kings?
Why did she come through me?
I just got my everywhere. Okay, all right. That's a perfect ending. Okay, we are asking, why did Hatshepsut come?
Well, it was her daughter that came through. I feel
her daughter. What is the connection with Julie and this pharaoh and her daughter? What is the spiritual connection between Julie and her daughter?
Okay. Wow.
Okay. All right. I have 2 cards.
Oop.
Hey, we're not doing reversals today.
Okay.
Wow, look at that.
I
need to find that card so I can look into that one too. That's beautiful.
No, I don't know why this one would come up.
Well, I see right now, because you were open spiritually and you had the the energy to absorb all that came through to you, and she wanted her story told.
Yeah, maybe
That's what I got there.
Yeah, because I guess
up.
I was willing to step up.
Right. But don't come haunting me now just because I have enough ghosts in my house.
Enough ghosts.
Actually, just 2.
Nancy, I don't have any plans to return to Egypt, but I wouldn't mind. I mean, I'm there mentally all the time, but you know, maybe if traveling becomes less dangerous and
yeah,
plague, and if the world would settle down and be more green, I would love to go back.
Oh, I think I passed it. Darn it! I wanted to see the image.
Are you picking a card for this question?
Okay, so I got 2 things. So it was the things that keep you up at night. So she's definitely with you. And maybe if you sometimes have disrupted sleep, it's because her energy is so strong.
Yeah.
That, but it's like in here, it's like she comes to you in your dreams with messages.
Yeah.
And an image, Julie. Explain this image.
Oh, that's Ptolemy 13, who killed Pompey to impress Caesar.
Interesting.
And in doing so, he guaranteed that his sister would be in charge and not him.
Ooh. That is incredible. So how would you think you would interpret that for why she comes to you? I still think she wants the truth to come. You're one of her little portals to get her story out, and she wants people to hear.
Nancy Antonucci once told me, she said, Julie, she doesn't know what happened. You have to tell her the story.
Like, well, you know, when people die unexpectedly, they don't know. Do we know how she died, or either one of them?
I had a weird dream, and I kind of think I know how she died, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Do you want to pull a card? Do you want to pull a card on that and see if it correlates, or?
All right, I'll pull a card on that.
Okay. Okay, because there are lessons still to be taught in your spiritual journey, reminding you of your experiences. I also want to, there's a plug, Ancestral Past and the Mahat, next on the list. Real Sky is on my list too.
That's my answer to that question.
Is it really? You're going to keep it to yourself?
Well, I think the 2 wheels kind of move together. Like, we have separate lives, but there's still like something that's like, maybe it's an oversoul thing, like a similar oversoul.
Oh, interesting. Was that for how she died or her daughter? Was that card for either one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think there's any burning questions here? I choose the 4 of Cups.
Refusal of an offer.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just some things that are too personal.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. All right. So I want to know, okay, how can we pull a last question? Anybody have a really good summary question that we might be able to close have a little closure. How about what is Hatshepsut? I was close. Hatshepsut's message for us all. If she has a message for us, and within our presentation about her, what message does she have that she can impart to us?
That's sort of sweet. Enjoy the spiritual journey. It's a short spiritual journey, and it's short, intense relationship.
So I had shuffled all my cards, and I pulled this again. Interesting enough. We need to celebrate each other, celebrate life, celebrate the energies, celebrate the natural energies such as nature and what nature has to offer. We're losing in touch with that right now in a big way. We're losing touch with nature, deforestations. We're not honoring what we kill, so to speak. And if we can all maybe do some sort of rituals to honor our ancestors.
If we thought that perhaps we might come back here, maybe we would take better care of Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like the Egyptians felt like they were coming back, or they could come back.
They did, yeah.
Egypt was heaven.
And
then they would return. So they made things to last.
Right.
And they were in touch with nature. And I feel like this culture is really like, you better live now. You got one life. You better live now. So live it up, or I'm going to take all the things because, there's a shortage, so I'm going to buy it all. It's just not a good mindset. It's not, I have this one chance to live great. That's it.
Right.
And it's
I'm going to die happy, and I'm going to be, But we also have to remember we're going to be an ancestor someday. Ooh. And then we need to have a sacred space for my son, his children, his children's children. We're not the only ones that are inhabiting the moment. So we also need to protect Mother Earth for our generations.
I agree. I'm definitely live small.
I think that's a wonderful ending to the closing statement for this. I wanted to see if so the I thought I had a different banner. The links to Julie's YouTube. Is he doing a one of these?
My computer and it just giving me messages. That was Amber.
Hi, Amber.
That was Amber.
Okay. All right, so we'll just say this. Subscribe to Julie's channel. She's got so much information on there. Real Sky Astrology. Are you still doing the Journey into Egypt?
Classes? I think I'm done with all the classes. Those are all through Lavender Moon.
Yeah.
What I do, I think I put that into like a category, like you can get there to my channel. I also have like little snippets of like beekeeping and like all the little seasonal things that we do around here. So there's some like just homemaker stuff, and I do a lot of. There's always like a small facet of things that I do in my life.
Yeah.
Like grandma.
And she's got a website for her decks.
And I'm a fermenter of foods, and I do all kinds of.
Oh, that's on your channel as well.
Yeah, I have all that stuff on.
Oh, perfect timing, because I'm wanting to learn how to be self-sustainable and stuff. So this is a list of Julie's decks. This Blue Moon Tarot, I really, that's not in print, you said. What was your first deck?
My first deck was Ancestral Path.
Was the Ancestral deck.
Yeah.
So this is listed in order.
Yeah, which led me to Blue Moon, which is the full moon cycle cross quarter day majors only card deck that I felt was closure to Ancestral Paths calendar that I had made. Because I had 52 weeks and four seasons, and I didn't know where the majors fit in, so Blue Moon became that. Okay. And then from there, people were like, no, Blue Moon needs minor cards. So that's when Mahat was born. And then of course the connection with Real Sky. So that's when Journey into Egypt was born. And then I didn't feel like Journey into Egypt was astrological enough, so I had to do Real Sky. And that brings us up to 2020, and here I am.
What an evolution. I love it.
Millions of years later, I'm still addicted.
Only a few
okay. Years later.
All right, so Nancy's hubby was hungry. She enjoyed her.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Really, thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I missed some. This. Is that what she was talking about? 3 sacred circles, the 3 staves. Yeah. You're welcome to post pictures in my group, actually. So
that wants to
Tracy Ralph says
they picked into
missed the show.
Or the web group. Or the Facebook group. That would be really interesting to see. It's hard for me to read.
Yes, everybody. I love that idea. So if you want to, if you remember what you pulled, post pictures in Ginger Faye's Hidden Hollow of Divine Musings.
Hit that thumbs up button.
That astro travel, that's like scary and exciting at the same time, right?
Yeah, I felt like I was going to die. I mean, it's
creepy
and weird, and then when you're back, you're like, oh, that was so incredible. We're, like, what just happened to me?
Okay, so she posted it across for you to see. Okay, perfect.
Thanks,
perfect.
Thanks, Tony.
And then, so with that, I'm going to do I was telling my son what I forget to do is, if you liked what you saw today, like and subscribe and hit that bell. I forget to do that, because most people in here, I just know from other chats, so I forget. Well, I forget I have a channel to promote here.
Hope that everyone was entertained.
Yeah.
Responsibly.
And I also want to tell everybody, if you have a story that you know of, or a haunted anything that you know of or would love to investigate, let me know, because I would love to keep doing this. And this was so fascinating, and it went by so fast. If you have any, if you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments too. I mean, I'm going to read the comments back, and if this is an interest to people to keep Paranormal going, I would love to do that. So I'd love to. I've always been into paranormal, so and then tarot. So what better way to marry the two? Okay, so we're going to sign off for now and say blessings, and I appreciate every one of you for coming. And I appreciate you, Julie. Wonderful, wonderful story. I'm still getting little tingles everywhere from all this. So anyways, all right. So thank you, everybody. And until next time. And if you like this idea, share it. Thank you. Bye.